Good evening, everyone. It is November 4th, 2019, and we are 2 months away from the end of 2019, and I'm kind of looking forward to it, aren't you? So today we are finally getting back on the horse, on the Focal Clear horse, and we are moving on to the mids test. We did a comparison of multiple headphones to the clear for the bass test, so now we're going to start with the mids. And today we have 3 songs queued for our mids test. We have Want You Back by Haim. We also have Sun by Sleeping at Last. And we have Superposition by Young, the Giant. Now, which one is this? Sun by Sleeping at Last is a song that I have not before played for our test, but we're going to do that today. So let's get started with Want You Back. I am using the clears with the THX Monolith desktop amplifier. Here we go. The beginning of the song at negative 30 decibels is really soft, and there's no harshness to her voice at all. I'm going to increase the volume. Now we're at negative 20, and you can clearly hear the separate vocalists. There's 2 backup vocalists, and their tonalities are so vastly different. The headphone clearly represents the primary vocalist and the 2 backup vocalists. All 3, when they're singing together, you could hear them, all their individual tonalities. When the guitar plays, the bass guitar and the piano, those reverberations of those frequencies are kind of held back. They're not up front. Indeed, the mids are quite forward of the instruments currently playing, the drum, the piano, and the bass guitar. And I would say that the vocalists are easily 2 to 3 steps ahead on that soundstage or imaginary soundstage. The overall presentation of the song is not particularly wide. It's not like an HD 800 where people say that the soundstage is very wide. It's an average soundstage, maybe above average soundstage, meaning it doesn't have a closed-off experience. It sounds like you are standing in a large living room, and that can have maybe 50 people in it comfortably, and you have very nice loudspeakers, floor speakers, pointed in your direction. Yeah, when the bass comes in, there is no overemphasis on the bass. It doesn't sound like the vocalists are being overpowered. Each individual vocalist has her own specific tonality. So one of the things I like to do with this particular song is that around 5 seconds of the song, the primary vocalist says the word "we." And she drags the W out, we. I mean, it's a very gravelly detail, and it's really nice to hear. Now, a couple of things happen with some headphones. What happens is either that presentation is too harsh, meaning it just sounds really, it drags out that W, and it sounds like more of a resonance than it does the word "we." Other headphones reproduce it, but it doesn't have that graveliness, right? So you hear the graveliness. You should be able to hear it, just the word "we," the letter "we," the W, but you should hear the rest of the word, and it shouldn't resonate continually. It should just come and go as soon as the word is done, is complete, forming. Then that should end. Some headphones, what they do is they take that word, that graveliness, and they either overemphasize the graveliness so it sounds a little bit harsher, or it underemphasizes it and it's hard to get the gravelly nature. So there's a happy medium there somewhere. So let's go back to about 5 seconds and let's listen for that detail. Yeah, and I would say that this particular headphone is of the latter, where it doesn't overemphasize. It kind of pulls it back a little bit. That graveliness is present, but it's a little bit muted. It's not as gravelly as I've heard it with other headphones. For example, it's the HD 800, which does present that detail with a bit more volume, I suppose you could say, a little bit more presentation, a little bit more forward. Whereas with the clear, it's just a bit more subdued. You don't really get the gravelly nature. You know it's there, you hear it, but if you're not paying attention for it, you could theoretically miss it. The detail is present, it's just not loud, even at negative 20 decibels, which is very comfortable listening level. So let's go on to the next song, which is Sleeping at Last. Sun by Sleeping at Last. Here we go. The song starts off with a piano, and here's a male vocalist. He has a very high-pitched tone to him. I would say he's probably a tenor. And it's so soft. It's almost like, and this is just an impression I'm saying, it's like they, in the mix and in the mastering process, they toned down, they curved off, they rounded off any harshness in the treble area. It just smooths it out. There's no ear piercingness, there's no harshness. You can clearly hear the piano playing in the background. The vocal is in front of that piano. 2 to 3 steps easily, dead center. And now you have other instruments picking up. There's the piano, and then there's some sort of, there's a guitar of some sort, or a string instrument of some sort. And now you have the drums coming in. And the drums are playing, the guitar is playing, the piano is playing, and the vocal is still well ahead of all the instruments. So what I'm hearing is the male vocalist sounds absolutely crystal clear. There's no muddiness at all. There's no harshness. There's no peakiness. Even when all the instruments are playing, you can hear him clearly. You don't have to struggle at all. Now, negative 20 decibels is very comfortable listening level, so I'm going to increase to negative 10 and try to pump more power into these headphones and see if that changes the tonality at all. Now we're negative 10, which is really loud, and I can't even hear myself speaking. And there's no tonality change, just the increase in volume, so it's just louder. And now you can hear the drum coming in. The drum sounds louder, but the vocal is still well ahead of the drum, of the piano, of the guitar, and of the other string instrument. Even at loud volume, even at negative 10, the voice is smooth. It's not harsh at all. And at negative 10 decibel, there's a detail that comes out that I wasn't hearing at negative 20, which is there's this electric buzzing noise all the way at the bottom. And when the vocalist is silent and the instruments are not playing, there's just a moment of silence. You can hear that buzzing. It's a very neat detail that I didn't pick up at negative 20. I'm going to decrease the volume to negative 20. All right, let's stop. So with this song, it just, there's a lot going on about halfway of the song when it just picks up. There's a crescendo and it carries forward through the end. The very beginning of the song, the first, say, minute or so, it's just the male vocalist, and his voice is soft. It's detailed in the sense that I don't find any of the drum strikes, I don't find any of the piano frequency interfering with what I'm hearing with him. He just stands out perfectly. And this is the same experience I had with Want You Back, where the vocalists were well ahead of all the instruments. And this is not something that happens regularly. When we've done these tests, when we've tested Want You Back, for example, because I've tested that more often, and this is the first time testing Sun, is that with that particular song, a lot of headphones tend to bring the vocals back, and it's either shoulder to shoulder with the instruments, or it's just behind the instrument, or it's just maybe a step or a step and a half in front of the instruments. And I know this sounds a little vague, but you have to imagine that you're looking at a play stage where they do plays, and the instruments are in the back. They're supposed to be in the back, and you have the vocalists, and they're supposed to be in the front, and you should be able to hear the vocalists clearly. I mean, the instruments are back there for emphasis. They're back there to add mood and character to the song, but really you're listening for the words. And if you can't hear the words, and it becomes harder to get the tonality of the vocalist, male or female, then you're losing out on that mid frequency. A lot of headphones tend to do that, but the clear is just, lives up to its name. It is, frankly, in my opinion, sounds very clear indeed. All right, so let's go to our third song, Superposition by Young the Giant. We are at negative 20 decibels. Here we go. It starts off with a drum and a guitar or a ukulele. I have no idea what this is. The bass is tight. It's not overemphasized. In fact, it's probably rolled off so that there's not a lingering bass frequency. Guitar and the bass, totally different tonalities. You can hear it both clearly. Now you have the male vocalist. He, once again, sounds very smooth. Different tonality of this male vocalist, different frequency singing at than the vocalist in Sun. No peakiness, no harshness. He is definitely ahead of both the guitar and the drum. There's also a bass guitar here. And he is easily 2 to 3 steps ahead of all the instruments. Now you have the multiple vocalists. You can hear. So I don't know if this is the primary vocalist and his voice is simply echoed in the mix. But I feel that there's at least 2 vocalists right now, because I can hear the intake of breath and then another intake of breath, not exactly in tune. And there's no doubt in my mind at all that I can clearly hear their tonality. Everything they're saying is crystal clear. That bass guitar, you can hear it playing, but it's not overemphasized. It's just somewhere in the background. You can hear it if you pay close attention. You can hear it when the vocalist is singing. When he's quiet, it comes right back out again. There's no melding of frequencies. There's no muddiness at all that I can find. Okay. So, Superposition is an interesting song, because a lot of headphones, what they tend to do with this song is that they bring back the vocals and they sound almost shoulder to shoulder with the instruments. And you'll lose out on the vocals when the instruments are playing. It happens over and over and over again. This is one of the very few times that I can recall where a headphone has presented the vocals up front. It's more forward. Crystal clear. There's no muddiness, as I said. There's no harshness to the vocalist at all. I couldn't tell if there was more than one, if it's an echo, if there's 2, but I thought I heard an intake of breath a couple of times, an intake of breath, and then another intake of breath, which would be inconsistent with just one person whose voice is echoed. It would be more consistent, I would think, with another vocalist who's just a little bit off key, just a little bit off on the timing. Okay, so let's talk about conclusions. I have been fairly impressed with the clear. I think that the Clear is it's an excellent headphone. It provides it's very mid forward. And anybody who's been out there looking for a hi-fi headphone that is mid forward and provides clear separation of instruments and clear separation of each element in a mix should, I think, consider the Clear. And I know they're very, very expensive headphones, so I get that. It's not for everybody. But if this is within your budget and this is the type of headphone that you're looking for, then I would submit to you that the Clear is definitely worthy of your consideration if that's what you're looking for. It's not the type of headphone that everybody's going to like. There are a lot of people who want more bass emphasis, and the Clear simply don't provide it out of the box. You will have to EQ. And there are a lot of people who say, I'm not a fan of mids. I would prefer for mids to be scooped out. Fine. Well, you can EQ that, but I think when in the process of EQing that much with the mids, you're going to really get distortion and you're going to lose a lot of detail. So whereas you can EQ up a little bit in the bass, just a little bit, a couple decibels here and there, in order to scoop out the mids on the Clear, I think you would have to EQ so much that you're just going to introduce distortion and you're going to lose out on details, and it's just not going to sound right. It's going to sound muddy. It's going to sound less clear because you're pulling all that stuff, all that information, all that detail back. At least that's my hypothesis. I hope that this has been of some help. This was a more short review or test of the Clear because I think that, trying to refine these tests a little bit more and try to get to the point a little bit quicker. And I hope that this has been helpful for whoever's been considering the Clear, if you are considering the Clear. If you like this content, if you like any other of my videos, all of my other content, then please consider joining my other patrons on Patreon. If you could find it just in yourself to donate $2 a month to me, that would go a long way. It would help me save up more money so that I can buy products and review them thoroughly for you and give you a thorough examination of what I hear, what I see, what I find, provide you with detailed analysis, and then give you a thorough conclusion about my findings. If you are a regular viewer but you haven't subscribed, hey, consider, would you please, to subscribe. I have 660 subscribers as of today, and that's fantastic. I would love to get to the 700 number before the end of the year. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. If you want me to review a product that I currently own, please use the review form, the link to a review form in the description section, and fill it out, and I'll submit it, and I'll get to it as soon as I possibly can. I'm terribly backlogged, but I will, in fact, get to each and every one of them as soon as I can. I hope that all of you have a wonderful, amazing, fantastic rest of your day, and an amazing rest to your weekend. Take care.